Hello everybody, it's your guy Syfy. May not look like I'm looking into the camera right now, but I am. Hi. Welcome back to the channel where we pick things up, throw them at a wall, and see if they stick. Today we're going to be rating 3 controllers: the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, the Xbox One controller, and the joycons. I'm going to do it on 5 categories: buttons, grip, features, durability, and battery life. As say the Pro controller has the best buttons, it's going to get a 3 in that category, then 2, then 1, respectively, for which controller from best to worst. So most points at the end will be the best controller in my opinion. I'm interested to see how this goes. I haven't actually decided on points yet. So buttons. In terms of the buttons for the Switch controller, what I do really like is the big boy buttons right here. This is pretty nice. I also really like the fact that there's a capture button and a home button. The Xbox has a home button and the Joy-Cons have a home button. But I mean, like, it's a pretty cool looking home button. Like, look at this there's like a little house right there. That's pretty nice. The D-pad, that's a very clicky D-pad. I like that. I also like how the top is, the top's like rounded and it has a rim. That's kind of cool, I guess, because, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it feels comfortable. That's what I'm trying to say. For the trigger buttons, though, I don't like how they just kind of rest like that. It also doesn't feel very cradled like it does with the Xbox, but we'll get to that soon. So yeah, that's really it. The Xbox controller. This is a very chonky lad. D-pad. I don't know if you can hear that clicking, but that's a clicky D-pad. The buttons are more rounded, I'd say, than the Pro controller. One thing I do want to mention that these buttons, I don't think these are painted on. These are like engraved into it, so I don't think it looks like the Lars won't wear away. In the Xbox, it has the buttons, but they're under like a little casing. That's pretty cool. I really like these. I really like the joysticks. Those are really, they're not like stiff. They're very dynamic. I really like these triggers. I don't know if I already said that, but it feels like your fingers are just very cradled. Then you push them down, and also it doesn't goes down as much as you want it to, which is really good for some games if you know some games. Yeah, that's really it. Joy-Cons. They have the clicky triggers. They don't actually have a D-pad. I understand why they do that, because both Joy-Cons kind of have to be the same, so you can take them off and just use either one. I guess the D-pad, yeah, D-pad would make sense if they wouldn't really have it. By the way, I'm not rating each separate one. I'm rating them together on the thing, because I'm not a little baby. I do like how they have a capture button and a home button. Like the Xbox controller, that doesn't have a capture button. One thing I really don't like, though, is the fact that it doesn't have a D-pad. I mean, I know I get it, but come on, it's a D-pad. And also, I don't like the trigger buttons. They feel very tiny. So do the bumpers. They're pretty tiny too. You don't really like feel cradled when that's a weird word to use, but you know what I mean. You just kind of like feel like my fingers are gonna slip off of this one day. So for buttons, I'm just gonna have to say that Pro Controller gets a 3 in that category. I really like that. Xbox is gonna get a 2, and Joy-Cons are gonna get a 1. For grip, I like the way it's angled. I don't know if you know what I mean, but like look at that. It's like because it just kind of bends right into your fingers, and that's really nice. Xbox controller grip. It doesn't really bend into your fingers per se, but it definitely feels more comfortable with the sides of your middle fingers. Look at this. I can just hold them up right here. And then, oh, I already told you about the analog sticks. I really like those. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's it, kind of. But one thing I really don't, that I think it really should have is those dots. Those are nice dots. Oh boy, the Joy-Con. I have to really say, this is probably my least favorite controller grip besides the singular Joy-Cons, because it just feels so lumpy. Look at this. Does this look comfortable to you? Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It doesn't really matter to me that much. I can use 2 Joy-Cons and be fine with it any day. But it just doesn't feel like, look at the shape. Like, don't you think there's something wrong with that? I mean, like the meaty part of my hand is like pushing into the Joy-Con. That doesn't really feel that great. So for grip, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give Pro Controller a 3 again. I'm gonna give Xbox a 2, and I'm gonna give Joy-Cons another 1. That's pretty repetitive. By the way, you may notice that some categories are feeding into others. I'm not a professional at this. I'm just a guy rating his controllers. So features. Obviously, this is a pretty nice controller. I'm not gonna mention battery life. That's a category of its own, but don't worry, that's coming. I obviously like this capture button. This is a really nice capture button. I don't know if you can actually capture when you're in the home menu, which is one thing I don't particularly, and if it doesn't have that, I don't think it does. I mean, that doesn't really matter. No, I guess it's kind of cool. Like, I've never seen a capture button on a Nintendo controller before, besides obviously the joycons, but I'll talk about that later. I like the placement of the buttons as well. I mean, obviously this is kind of standard, but the Xbox kind of has the same thing going with the, as you can see, the button, all kind of like the less important buttons, more like the menu buttons, they're kind of more towards the middle. It obviously makes sense. That's just standard stuff. One thing that I kind of think is a bit cool, I guess, it's like this little translucent thing. Like, look at that. You can like see the battery in there. I don't know. The Xbox controller. Oh boy. You can open up the menu and you can take a screenshot. I don't know if you can, once again, that doesn't really matter. But one thing that I do really like about this controller over the other two is that you can shut the controller off, which you can do with the others. You can shut your console off, or you can restart your console right from this little button right here. But yeah, so I do really like this button right here. That's a nice button. It doesn't have the translucent battery thing, but I mean, like, it's an Xbox controller. It usually takes AA's. I have a rechargeable in here, which I'll get to soon. One thing one thing I do find kind of cool though is that it does have a headphone jack. Obviously that's for like headsets and stuff, but these two don't. I just noticed that actually. Like, look at that. It actually bothers me a bit. I guess you wouldn't really need a headset for this because you're not going to be in like Xbox parties and stuff, but if you, with my friends, I use this little thing a lot. So button placement's a bit weird. I don't like the capture button down there. The home button I guess is fine because I'm not really going to be pressing it that often. I do like the button placement with the menu buttons because it's very close to the very close to these. I also do like that I can just use the analog stick and just click on these. That's kind of nice. Once again, I'm not rating grip in this category. That's a whole different category of its own. But I guess it's kind of exclusive to the Switch controller. It's very easy to take these in and out, and it's very satisfying just listening to them clicking. Like, I can do that all day. It's pretty nice. Also, it has this little thing here for like hanging on one of those little shelf accessory things if you have them. So for this category, I'm going to do, and both of these, very nice rumble. For this category, I'm gonna do, it's really close. I mean, joycons are obvious. I'm gonna put those at 1, even though they could have won out. I actually considered those over the Switch, but I mean, I don't know. Pro controller, I'm gonna put at 2, and Xbox, I'm gonna give it 3 because I really like that. I just love that home button. Durability. In case you don't know it yet, this is already getting a 1. There have actually been lawsuits filed for these apparently getting like they're breaking too easily. I've heard a lot of cases of having drift with these. They kind of, I mean, just looking at them, it's kind of weird. Like the whole, I haven't gotten drift with them. I mean, I don't know. I know drift has to get under the thing, but I'm just looking at it right now. It doesn't look like I could get under there easily. But you know, I'm just a YouTuber. What do I know? For the what am I on? Pro controller. Durability. These things. You know, they're pretty durable. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, I've heard people get drift with them. I know Treehouse is actually like, he had drift on it, and the entire controller, all its buttons got mixed up. I don't know what the hell happened, but I could not find anything on that when I was seeing if I could help him fix it. Durability on this, I actually, like, these things come apart. I didn't, like, you can take this apart and just put it back on. I've never done that, but I've seen people do it, and also, this is just a chunky lad. It's pretty durable in terms of an Xbox controller. I mean, it's a pretty nice controller. It's pretty durable. This is a weird category. I don't know why I actually included this one. I'm gonna put joycons at a 1 again. I'm gonna put Xbox controller at a 2 and Pro controller at a 3. I'm sorry if this is kind of getting boring, but you know, the Pro controller is just really good. Alright, battery life. Oh boy, this is gonna be a pretty straightforward one. This is the last one, by the way. These, I've heard 20-hour battery life. These, I've heard 30 hours. And these, I've heard 40 hours. But that's not necessarily what I've gotten. I have not had to charge these or these. I have to charge this thing every day. And you want to know something even worse? Right here, you have to plug in the charger from the Xbox, right? So when I do that, it never works. I have to be holding the wire onto the back of it to get it to charge. It's really annoying. And then the battery doesn't even last 30 hours. It lasts like 20 max. That's pretty annoying. I'm gonna give the Joy-Cons a 2 in this category, Xbox a 1, and Pro Controller once again gets a 3. So total, Xbox gets a total score of 10 out of 15. The Pro Controller gets a total score of 14 out of 15. And the Joy-Cons get a measly 6 out of 15. Once again, this is just my opinion. This isn't like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, hey guys, you suck, you like the Joy-Cons more than the Pro. I don't know who would, but I mean, once again, I'm not trying to get after you for your opinions. If you want to see it, here it is. This is pretty much the list. Pro Controller, apparently it's the best in my opinion. Xbox is also pretty good. I mean, in all honesty, if I had to choose over like my Xbox and Switch, I don't know which one I'd choose. I really like both consoles. They're really good. But the Joy-Cons are also pretty good. I really like the fact that it came with 2 controllers, not just 1. I mean, I think my Xbox actually came with 2, but once again, the Joy-Cons are still pretty good. I haven't had any problems with them, but then again, I haven't really had my Switch for that long. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a list. Once again, if you want to hear the scores, Xbox 10 out of 15, Pro Controller 14 out of 15, and Joy-Con 6 out of 15. This has been the Pro Controller versus Xbox versus Joy-Cons video comparison, and I'm sorry if I sounded really awkward during all of this. I don't have a script. Once again, we're just throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks. Anyways, that's all. It's your guy Syfy, and goodbye. I'm sorry that sounded really bad.